So the Big 12 has 10 games this weekend, starting on Friday night with the Kansas Jayhawks. South Dakota comes into Lawrence, Kansas. Now, I was talking to my sons about this just yesterday because we were talking about the question I asked you: would the Big 12 be above, at, or below 500 this weekend? And my oldest son, he was like, "Look, Kansas is good for at least one non-conference win." Well, they weren't last year. The Jayhawks are 13-point favorites over South Dakota Friday night. So here's your time to shine, Rich. Give me a thought here. Win or loss for the Jayhawks?
If it was North Dakota State, it'd be a completely different story. Seeing the name South Dakota listed there gives me a glimmer of hope, but there's so much change. There's so much newness at Kansas, in Lawrence. It's hard for me to pick Kansas any day of the week.
Right.
It's hard for me to pick them on a Saturday, Friday, a Thursday. It doesn't matter what day they're playing on. It's hard for me to pick them for a win because of what we saw transpire last season, and because knowing that they have a brand new coaching staff, brand new schematics, not a lot of experience on this roster, losing some of their top players like a Parchment as a receiver. It's just the situation is bleak. Can Kansas get the win? Yes, but I think this one comes down to the who's going to have the ball last in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 looks bad on Friday night. And it's Kansas. If you followed our preseason rankings that we did at Heartland Sports,
watch them have a blowout win.
Yeah, no doubt, just to prove us wrong. And good for you, Kansas, if you do that. But I have no faith in Kansas. I have no confidence in Kansas. I've said it with the power rankings. I said it with the position rankings. You got to prove it to me on the field, and I'm sticking with this. Now, the line has moved a little bit. Kansas was a 14.5-point favorite. They're a 13-point favorite now. The over-under is at 55.5. I'm telling you, I would take for sure South Dakota and 13 points, and I think I would go with the under on that 55.5. But I think this is 0-1 for the Big 12 to start out with, and it's just I got no love. I got no confidence. You got to give it to me, Kansas. You got to prove it to me. Win this game, and we'll talk about the next one after that. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. kickoff. Stanford against Kansas State. Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium. This is a fun game, I think. This may be the second best game on the Big 12 slate this weekend. I think it's a really close game. The Wildcats are favored by 3. I don't like that. I think this is going to be an 0-2 mark for the Big 12, but I'm sorry, 0-2 mark against the spread. I think Kansas State actually wins this game, but I think they win it by like they edge out like a point or two here. I don't think this is where you cover the spread. Over under is 53, and I think I would be over on this if I was a guy who was in a place where I could make some potential investments on sports. Anyway, I got Kansas winning, but I think it's really, really close. Kansas State winning, but I think it's really, really close.
I, too, have Kansas State winning this one. When I look at the matchup, the difference maker for me is the return of Skylar Thompson. Really opens things up for a player like a Deuce Vaughn. We know that they're going to bring a tenacity to the field. We know that Skylar Thompson is going to showcase his running ability. And if he begins to connect with his receivers, it's going to be a long day for Stanford. I think being back in the saddle for him is a heavy dose of medicine that he's been waiting for so long at this point. And I think he relishes that moment and has a very successful outing. And because of that, I am going Kansas State. I think they cover by more than 3.
Oh, really? Okay. We'll see. I do agree. This is definitely a different Wildcat football team with Skylar Thompson at the helm than without him. But I think it's going to be a fun game. Unfortunately for me, it's at the same time as the Oklahoma Tulane game, but I will definitely be score watching on this one. West Virginia against Maryland. The Mountaineers, again, 3-point favorites, but this game is played in College Park. I don't think this is going to be a good result for West Virginia. I do think this is a better Mountaineer team than what we had last year in the Big 12, but I don't think they've got all the pieces of the puzzle together just yet. I think Maryland is a team that's finding its way. And I think the Terrapins, not only do they cover the 3-point spread that they're the underdog by, I think they win this game, and over under set at 57. And I think that's right. That's about spot on for me. So I may be tempted to go the under, but I would probably stay away from over under here because I think it's spot on.
When I look at West Virginia, I think they have a lot going for them defensively. It's not being able to solve their offensive problems that are reasons for concern. This is a big rivalry. I understand that, and you never know what you're going to get. It will be a mixed bag once these two step onto the field. First game of the season, not quite sure how it's going to play out, but I do think I'm leaning towards being in agreement with you, Matt, and that Maryland edges out West Virginia in this game and takes that win. And that pains me.
Yeah, I know. We both got family there. So Northern Iowa at Iowa, the Cyclones dropped their season opener last year. More to come on that here in a minute. 3:30 kickoff here in the Heartland. But I don't think there's a spread. I didn't see a spread on this game, but undoubtedly this is a game Iowa State wins. They don't trip this coming out the gate this year. Their highest ever preseason ranking at number 7. No way that they stumble out of the gate here, right, Rich?
Too much focus, too much talent. Iowa State wins this one hands down. I completely agree. No way they stumble.
So here's we're gonna skip. Let's skip over just a couple, and then we'll come back to the fun games. Missouri State, Oklahoma State. Again, no point spread here that I could come across, but we saw this Missouri State team in Norman last September. They are better than what they brought to Norman. They had a good spring season, but again, with all the questions that Oklahoma State has going into the season, I don't think we really see a lot of answers there, but I do think we see a comfortable Oklahoma State win.
Concur, 100%.
Baylor, Texas State. Baylor's. They've got to win this game, right?
I don't know that Baylor's going to be as bad as we think they're going to be, but Texas State is by far a less superior team than Baylor is. There's going to be a talent discrepancy simply because of Power 5 conference name being attached to the Baylor Bears. So I'm giving the Baylor Bears the win here.
I agree with you, but there is a point spread on this game. It's 14 and over under of 53. First of all, take the over. And secondly, I would take Texas State getting 14 points here because I think Baylor wins, but I think Texas State makes this thing ugly. And I don't think there's a lot of ease in Waco, Texas after this win. This is a game where I think Baylor walks off the field feeling like they lost, even though they won. Now, that said, they're probably going to do like a 55-2 win or something like that. Okay, last cushiony game, probably the worst game in the Big 12 this weekend. Duquesne at TCU in Fort Worth. No point spread on this game, but look, if TCU loses this game, fire Gary Patterson.
No, never. his name will be on something at the university.
They've already got a statue ready. Hey, by the way,
there you go.
The cheapest ticket in the Big 12 this weekend is this game right here. $2 a ticket. If you want to go see some college football, just drive to Fort Worth. A $2 ticket gets you in.
I'm just going to give you props for remembering how to pronounce the name of Duquesne.
Oh, thanks, man. It's almost like I cover college sports.
Okay. Yeah, right. Now, when we did basketball, I remember you asking me how that was pronounced and looking like a total fool.
I didn't do it on a podcast, did I?
You may have.
Oh,
all I remember is when you look at the name Duquesne, it does not look like it says that at all.
Not
and
at
if
all.
you try to sound it out phonetically, you're way off. Just go ahead and go home.
Okay, so 6 o'clock kickoff in Houston, NRG Stadium, Texas Tech against the Houston Cougars. The Red Raiders, a 1.5 point favorite. Over under here, 64.5. And I think I would take the under here on this game, but absolutely, I think Texas Tech loses a close game to the Houston Cougars. I have zero confidence in Matt Wells right now because I think this team is going to regress from what we saw last year, and what we saw last year wasn't good.
I can't disagree on the Matt Wells comments. but I do feel as though Texas Tech has decent linebackers and one heck of a running back in SaRodorick Thompson. I think they put up a challenge. I don't know, obviously, who's going to win this one because the game hasn't been played, but it's hard for me to pick against Texas Tech. I just think you're going to be right in the end. Houston wins it.
All right, second best game in the Big 12. By the way, that Houston Texas the Houston Texas Tech game is a runner-up because I think it's going to be a fun game to watch as well. And I'm glad it's a night game. I've said this before about the 11 a.m. kickoffs. You get to go to the game, you get to do whatever you got to do, and then you get home in time to watch the night slate of games. And so I'm glad that's a 6:00 kickoff. But the second best game in the Big 12 this weekend, in my opinion, number 23 Louisiana at number 21 Texas. Rich, I've got a little bit of a question for you. I meant to ask you this earlier in the podcast and just kind of play it out, but I'm just going to ask you and I'll give you the answer. Do you know how far back that you have to go with Texas head football coaches to find a win in their very first game against a ranked opponent?
I don't. 1956.
Yeah, you're close. You got to go all the way back to Fred Akers. He's the last Texas football coach to win his very first ever game against a ranked opponent for with the Texas Longhorns. And so that said, I mean, it's about to get very real, very fast for Sarkisian. And I mean, you look at everything with this, the Longhorns are a 9-point favorite. I don't think they should be a 9-point favorite. I think their name gets them the 9 points. Louisiana is the team that went in last year to Ames, Iowa, and upset the second best team in the Big 12 on the road to start the 2020 season. This is a team that scored 37, almost 38 points, 37.8 points per game on the road last year. Texas scored 30.8 at home. So when you just look at those averages, Louisiana is a touchdown better, and Texas is breaking in a new quarterback, and they don't really know for sure. They're going with the card kid who is a true freshman. Casey Thompson, Oklahoma product, is going to play in this game. But when you got two quarterbacks, that means you haven't decided on one quarterback. I don't see this being an explosive debut for Texas. I certainly don't see them covering a 9-point spread against a ranked team at home. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think Louisiana upsets, and this could be the Longhorn hatred in me. I think Louisiana either upset Texas or they push them to the brink where the Longhorns have to kick like a field goal or something at the very end to come out with the win. No way. If I'm betting this weekend, I'm taking Louisiana on those 9 points.
Spoiler alert, I am not. What
Go.
Texas has, Matt, that you haven't even mentioned is Bijan Robinson in the backfield, who is a Heisman caliber running back. Will he be considered for the Heisman? That has yet to be seen, but does he have that type of talent? Absolutely. And I think this will be a short game because Texas is going to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball some more, and then they're going to run it again, and they're going to limit ULL and the Raging Cajuns offensive possessions. It's really the difference maker for me, combined with the fact that there is a talent discrepancy here regardless of the rankings. And when we get into the fourth quarter, we're going to see that talent start to have an edge, and we're going to see the depth start to have an edge. It doesn't matter how many quarterbacks you play. I'm not buying into the hype of a 10-1 season. I'm not buying into the hype of a win over Iowa State on the road to start the 2020 season. This is a brand new day, and I think Texas is out to prove something with Steve Sarkisian. They have to be. Whether they do that or not, we'll see. But in the season opener at home, I'm giving them at least a 3-point win, but I think they score a touchdown on top of that to win by 10 points.
So not only are you saying Texas wins, you're saying Texas wins and covers the spread.
They better. They're one of my Friday locks.
Oh, good. All right. Well, you went 2-1 last week on Friday locks. All right, here we go. Final game, Oklahoma Tulane kicks off the Saturday slate, 11 a.m. kickoff, Memorial Stadium. The Sooners will be the visiting team. That makes a little difference here. The over-under in this game is 69 points. Oklahoma, 31.5-point favorites. They've actually gained a point or a half a point over the last couple of days. They went from a 31 to 31.5. I think the over-under at the 69 is probably a bit ambitious. I also think the 31.5 is a bit ambitious. Oklahoma wins this game, but I don't think they cover our 30. I don't think they win it by 32 points is what I'm saying. I feel like you're going to disagree with me here.
I am. And that was very evident that you and I were going to be on opposite sides of the equation when we were discussing the offensive keys and defensive keys to this game. I still think that Tulane, with all the distractions, is going to struggle. I think that Oklahoma is going to be able to attack the defense in any way, shape, or form that they want to, and vice versa. I think they're going to be able to attack the offense basically in any way that they want to as well. So when I see Oklahoma taking the field with the offensive firepower, with the big play capabilities, I think they score in bunches up front and then ride that cushion to the end of the game.
Well, the problem is, again, I talked about Tulane and earlier in the podcast, they're just, I think they're really good offensively. I think you have some garbage time opportunities here. I'm going to give you a final score prediction here as we close out the podcast. I think this is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40-24. It's a comfortable win. It's probably not an impressive win when you think about it being a 31.5 point favorite. But I do think Oklahoma wins, and I think they have something to build on here. But just I maybe I'm giving Tulane too much respect, okay, and that could be the case. But I don't think Oklahoma covers here. Give me your score prediction.
I am actually going with 63-17, and I believe that Oklahoma this year is certainly going for style points. They have no ties future-wise to the Big 12, so there's no issues with upsetting some people along the way to an exit. But if Oklahoma is looking at getting to the college football playoff and they want to be one of the top 2 seeds, I think it is going to take some style points this year.
They already are a top 2 seed. You just got to go undefeated. They're number 2 in the country. I'm just throwing that out there.
People get leapfrogged all the time.
Yeah, well, we'll see. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Sooner Nation podcast. 11 a.m. kickoff for the Sooners on Saturday morning, and then we'll be back Sunday, and we'll give you our thoughts post game, and lead you into game 2 later on next week. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Enjoy your college football. Boomer Sooner.